Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wizards Outlook. We got Raymond Lyons, Wilson Turpay Jr., and let's get to it. Washington went down to Miami. Things did not go well. We've seen this story several different scripts before. Fall down early, fight back late. Unfortunately, it's not enough. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. Quick word from our folks over at Ooze and Oz, as always. New Year's Eve is rapidly approaching. Black Eyed Peas are back for New Year's Eve. Medium, $4.45. Large, $5.45. Half pans are $40, and full pans are $75. Pre-order now at oozeandoz.com. Again, pre-order now at oozeandoz.com. All right, Ray, we're gonna get into this. If you're Washington, you can't really claim the people you were talking about, the people you were missing, because Miami was missing quite a bit of people too. They had some big names on COVID protocol lists for both teams that weren't a part of this matchup. That said, Miami came out, they hit first in the opening quarter, put up 38 points, and they didn't really look back. Washington got into it a little bit late, but they just weren't able to close the gap. So I just want to get your early thoughts on this one. Again, it's a familiar script or story, if you will, that we've seen several times this year.
Yeah, I mean they struggle starting games with their normal group. So their the way they came out tonight really isn't a surprise, to be perfectly honest, man. They got a makeshift crew out there. They got 5 G League guys on their roster right now. But like you said, this isn't a issue that's exclusive to them. So that's neither here nor there. But yeah, Miami just came out and steamrolled them in the first quarter, and it was pretty much a wrap from there. Washington was looking up the entire game. Duncan Robinson came out on fire. Tyler Hero did him in. He had 32 off the bench. Yeah, man, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. So yeah, it's the dog days, man. Washington, they were able to get a little bit of momentum, after that tumultuous few weeks. But the last 2 games, they just haven't gone their way. They just ran into Philly the other night, with Embiid. He's just hell to deal with. And then tonight with Miami, they were just clicking on all cylinders. So yeah, it's shake it off, man, and get ready for the next one. Like, what life is like in the league right now with this COVID situation. So you just got to be prepared to go out with whoever we have available. It's you can't wait for guys to come back and save you, because the roster is fluid right now, man. Like, so you got to roll with the punches and do the best you can. But some positive notes. Spencer, he continuously is kind of getting back to form, man. That's definitely good to see. Because there was a point where he just didn't look like himself at all. So it's kind of good to see him find the rhythm again. Gaffer had a good game. Of course he didn't have Bam to deal with, but if for him, man, if he's not facing one of those upper echelon guys in his position, he's going to be super impactful. The next step in his evolution is being smarter, getting a little bit stronger, and being able to bang with those top tier guys. That coupled with his athleticism, it should that'll do wonders for the Wizards, man. But yeah, overall, man, it's good to see him scrap at it late. Might have been a little too late, but it's better than watching them lay down, and that lead keeps growing, and it gets to be a 35-point deficit or something like that. So at least we know they're still engaged and they're still willing to fight and compete. But yeah, kudos to Miami. They came out and did what they had to do. Both teams are dealing with a lot of shorthandedness. To keep it pretty frank. But yeah, man, just Wiz got to come out next game, and they got to start games better. That's been a running theme for them through the entire season. And they turned the ball over and weren't able to turn Miami over. Wizards had 18 turnovers, Miami had 7. That's and then with the way Miami was shooting the ball, that's the easy way to see itself on the wrong side of a lopsided score.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and especially during a time when you know so many teams, like, this is a league wide issue in terms of who, from it varies night to night who's available for teams. And it's key players missing, whether it be starters, rotation guys. You never know night to night. So you keep that in mind, knowing that you already typically start slow when everything's usually right. Um, you had an opportunity even as a road team. Had you been the team that came out tonight, punch first, got out to a good start, who knows? That could have been you that walked away tonight um, with the winner. Just had an upper hand late versus trying to always, again, find themselves in that place late where you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole and you can't quite get there. Especially late, you're fouling and things of that nature. Miami only missed 2 free throws. They were 21 to 23 from the line. Like, Miami's one of those teams where they're not gonna help you beat them. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
what they believe. Yeah, I know they didn't have Kyle Lowry. Jimmy Butler did a great job filling in. Um, Obviously he didn't play point guard, but I mean, he's turned the ball over 4 times, but I'm not too mad at that. Where clearly he tried to be the primary playmaker tonight to set the table for others. He had 15 assists on the night, and not only did he have 15 assists, he still did what he normally does on the offensive end, and defensive as well. So, big night from him. But there's some things that shouldn't happen. Um, I don't think if you're playing Miami, it's hard for any team to be able to afford Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero going off,
Mm-hmm.
to survive that, especially if you're not at full strength or you don't have people that can match it. Now, if you're one of the teams where you got enough firepower, it just it nets out to a whole 1 point or zero difference. That's a totally different story. But if you're not, man, that's tough. It's tough to overcome. Again, one of the numbers you mentioned, 7 turnovers, just 7, without their point guard tonight, without their starting point guard, just 7. We've talked about the issues Washington's had on the defensive end in terms of being consistent on that end for 4 quarters, and just making teams feel them at times when they're keyed in on that end of the floor. They do play tough physical defense. When they're not, people have little to no resistance, and they pay for it in the long run. Um, they cut it what they cut it to 7 with 115 left. They cut it to 6 with 37.8 seconds left. They cut it to 5 with 23.1 seconds left. Again, just sharing these little timestamps, and there just wasn't enough time to overcome what happened in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, what was a 14-point difference, and after that, you traded baskets for the most part, and even then to get this close, you had to go on a 25-11 run in the fourth. And a lot of that happened with let's be completely honest. Miami had, Jimmy Butler wasn't on the court for a chunk of that during that time. Their starters weren't on the court for a chunk of that, as they shouldn't be. And then, when Washington got it a little too close, starters came back in and you saw them just quietly put them away. And that's what, a good team does. For Washington, we told you guys earlier this week what it's going to look like during this stretch, because in the midst of a little free fall in the standings, and speaking of health and protocols, Cleveland just found out that Evan Mobley cleared protocols today. So there's a good chance he will be available to join his team that's currently in 5th place for Thursday's game in DC. He might be available for his Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, Ray. As always, I have to ask, player of the game.
I'm gonna go Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
Like you said, with the absence of Kyle Lowry, he had to, take over the facilitating role, and 15 assists to only 4 turnovers. It's a pretty good job. was still able to contribute 25 points. He just he steadied the ship and just kept everything balanced. No, the Wizards didn't have an answer. I mean, Spencer, he battled. He had 24 and 11, 7 rebounds, but yeah, the way they started the game, Jimmy Butler just got him into their offense, and guys were hitting. You know, he wouldn't have been able to get the assists if they weren't. But yeah, he just directed traffic out there and controlled the game.
Yeah, pretty much for me, it's Jimmy Butler for the reasons that you named. I feel like we're gonna go 2 for 2 tonight. It's kind of simple. Um, but man, he did what you're supposed. When you're the one guy of all, when
Hmm.
you got your group of key guys out, and you're the one guy that's available, this is what you get paid to do. Bring the rest of the folks with you. This is what you get paid to do. Like, I'm sorry to make it that simple, but it is what it is. We've seen different teams at times, whether it be the Warriors and Nets at different times. The Suns, you're missing, they went on a whatever. They went on like what was it, like a 12, 13, 15 game win streak or something with D Book out. It was something crazy, missing a key
Hmm.
player like that. Um, you've seen teams, and that's kind of been a difference this year. We've seen, I mean, where would the Nuggets be without Joker right now?
Yeah.
Like they'd be lottery bound if he wasn't out there bringing folks along with him. Like he just hitched the wagon, put it on his shoulders, and we're gonna hold water until reinforcements arrive. That's all I can do. So credit to him for that, and a good job by Jimmy Butler tonight. Had a lot of contributions up and down the Miami roster. All right, X Factor.
Um. Shit, I gotta go. Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero.
Okay.
Like you said, man, if 9 times out of 10, and both of them have a game like this, Miami's gonna win. Because that means a lot of things are going right for them. And I can't really separate their contribution to the game in this one because they both put on the show, man. Duncan Robinson, he shot the cover off the ball. Tyler Hero was aggressive. He 32 points off the bench. That's like the definition of an X factor. And Duncan, if he's Miami is they're at their best, obviously, when he's shooting the ball the way he did tonight. And when he's not shooting well, they're a much easier team to play. So yeah, those are my X factors for the night.
Yeah, it was tough to choose. I just went with Tyler. 32 points off the bench, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. There were stretches when he was on the floor without, the night that he had allowed Duncan and Jimmy to not be on the floor as much
Mm-hmm.
tonight, and a night when they were missing, other folks. Obviously they had to come back in late, but that was a long stretch where they got to get away with it because Tyler was out there with other folks just going about his business. So, kudos to him. And that's even something that shouldn't be overlooked with so many players in health and safety protocols, what it's doing to rosters on a nightly basis. If you're able to get some of your horses rest, I mean, and kudos to those that make it happen, right?
Yeah.
Like, completely honest. Kudos to those who make it happen. So that's the only reason I had him as X Factor over Duncan. Duncan started with Jimmy, and Jimmy was in a super giving mood. So, he was out there setting the table. And Tyler sometimes he was out there trying to set the table for others, and he got his own too. So that's what it was for me. But again, for Wizards Outlook, for Raymond and myself, we will see you guys literally Thursday evening because Washington takes on Cleveland. It's the beginning of like a 4-game homestand this week into the weekend, into the top of next week. So, hopefully they'll come back home and get right. And what it's going to come down to is honestly, just some of it is who you can get back off that list for health and safety protocols. Like, I'm sorry to oversimplify stuff, but sometimes it just is what it is. You got anything else to add, Ray?
Nah, man. Just hope they're ready for Thursday because last time they saw Cleveland, it was not pretty.
I hope Gaff gets an extra ice bath. That front court you got to deal with. You didn't have Bam tonight. The young big they had out there tonight still, had a double-double. There was, it was a nice little battle between the two. But Cleveland front line, yeah, man. like you said, we've seen it before, and yeah, and Mr. Garland coming in, and yeah, look, man, it'll be interesting as we've continued to say. Going to find a lot out about these guys and where they stand. Heading before 2022, we're going to have a great idea of where they are. So again, for Raven and myself, y'all have a great evening, and we'll see you guys soon.